please excuse my voice. Allergies are hitting me, and I took an allergy pill. So if I keel over, it's because it put me to sleep. So I'll try not to do that. And so would you join me for the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before I turn this over to the board secretary, I would like to introduce our new board secretary, who is Sherry Golden. Sherry, please stand up and let everybody see you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sherry comes to us with a wealth of experience in local government, and it's a pleasure to have you with us, and we look forward to a long and happy relationship.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
And I want to thank Carmen Diaz for her wonderful work filling in. Are you hiding, Carmen? We couldn't have done it without you. So Sherry, public statement, please. Public notice?
Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act. Notice having been posted on the board's office and website, and emailed to the Department of State and to newspapers and broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Crystal DeLue,
Here.
President Florida Township.
President, thank you. And when is our next meeting, please?
The next regular meeting, the next regular board meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 26, 2023 at 10 a.m. It will be a hybrid meeting in person at the board hearing room at 44 South Plain Avenue on Sherman, in live stream via YouTube.
Thank you. As you can see, we are going to have an executive session, but before we get into that executive session, you'll notice there are only 4 of us up here. And
I was going to say still here.
Commissioner Gordon has officially retired, effective April 1, actually. And so it'll be the 4 of us for a while. And as things have been going along, it may be 4 of us for a long time. So we'll have to see what occurred. But that's why there's only 4 of us. So we are going into executive session.
I'll move it. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And would the Attorney General's office read the reasons, please?
Good morning, Mr. President, Commissioners. Agenda item 1A falls within the discussion of confidential information pursuant to an investigation exception to the Open Public Meetings Act, which can be found in New Jersey Statute 10:4 12B1, and agenda items 2E, 8A, 8H, 8J, and 9A fall within the contract negotiation exception to the Open Public Meetings Act, which can be found in New Jersey Statute 10:4 12B7. Thank you.
Thank you. The items, one is for audits, the first one, and then there's one for energy. Then there are 2, I believe, or 3 for clean energy. So we're going to be in there for a while. I would estimate 45 minutes to an hour. It shouldn't be longer than that. So, order a pizza with extra cheese until we come out. And we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you. You're trying to turn this up. So we're going to reconvene into regular session, and thank you for your patience. Our estimate was pretty close to an hour, and I hope you enjoyed your pizza. One of the things I want to mention is to thank everyone's cooperation regarding our meeting that we canceled back in March. We also, a very important thing, we're going to have a conference at the Eldridge Hotel. Information should have been sent out to everyone regarding that on broadband. And it's going to be a working conference, and somebody gave me a number of how many people already signed up. Do we have an idea?
It's about 200 people.
Over 200 people. As you know, we are the focal point for broadband expansion here in the state of New Jersey. And this is certainly going to be, I believe, an outstanding workshop, and with over 200 people there, we should have a lot of ideas. And, you know, when we think of broadband, we think of more rural states that have problems with extending their broadband. We don't think of a place like New Jersey, because we're so densely populated and the most urbanized state in the Union. But there are parts of the state of New Jersey that have difficulty obtaining broadband. And with the Inflation Reduction Act and so on, there is money available through the federal government to help each state to expand their broadband reach. And we have a broadband committee working that meet monthly, and at the end of 1 year, we will be issuing a report on broadband and where we're at, and it's vital. And you know, out of disaster sometimes, good things do come. And you know, if not for the pandemic, there might not have been an urgency, or as much of an urgency, to expand broadband here in the state of New Jersey. When we saw children who were basically home for 2 years from school, and the only exposure they had to school was through the internet. And some kids didn't have that ability. And they lost, in essence, 2 years of schooling. We cannot allow that to happen, because, as you well know, an educated population is the greatest asset a democracy has. And if any of our children, regardless of where they live, are deprived of that education, our democracy suffers, which means we all suffer. So this is hopefully going to be an opportunity to expand and reach every corner of our state. So that's going to happen on Monday, and it begins, what's the beginning time, by the way?
8:30.
8:30 at the Eldridge. And those of you who are familiar with New Brunswick, the Eldridge is right across the street from Catherine's Restaurant, is that? Which,
You got me on that one.
Yes.
and what?
Stage left.
And Stage Left, 2 good restaurants, by the way. So you might want to after the conference. Catherine's is she makes good spaghetti, by the way. Okay, what else do we have here? I'm sorry I'm using this, by the way. My body is falling apart. I have to go in for cataract surgery. And I do see people out there, but I can't make out. So, and I have difficulty reading until they correct the cataract, and so on. So that's what we'll be going through on May 1st. So I'm going to have to suspend my wrestling career for a couple of weeks after that, because they don't want you to bounce around too much. So, pardon me. We have 2 new staff members in the Division of Reliability and Security. James Lucido, Program Specialist. Is James here? Welcome. And we also have, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. Adam, is it Adam? And Adams, what's your last name? I can't make it out.
Timai, Tamar.
Well, welcome. And what is your position in reliability and security?
We are program specialist trainees.
Good, beautiful. Well, good luck to both of you, and I hope we have a long and worthwhile relationship here at the BPU, and that you learn a great deal. And keep in mind, all of these people here and throughout the building are part of BPU, are part of the BPU family, and are more than willing to help you. If you have any questions and so on, never hesitate to ask. And my door is always open. So if you don't get your questions answered, you can come up, and I won't answer them either, but I can at least direct you to the right place. So, well, welcome, and we look forward to seeing you around the building. Thank you.
Thank you.
We talked about Sherry at the beginning, our new board secretary, which took us a long time to, they don't grow on trees apparently, board secretaries, and as I indicated, Sherry comes to us with a great deal of background and experience. She was a municipal clerk, which is, if you're familiar with municipal government, it's basically the secretary of their board or their council or their committee, and keeper of records and so on. So she's not a total stranger, and we're certainly thrilled to have her with us. And I already thanked Carmen at the beginning. I didn't want to forget to do that, Carmen, because sometimes, I have a good memory, it's just short. So it's important that I get the important things out there. I trust everyone had a wonderful holiday last week. Ramadan and Passover and Easter all kind of converged. And I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. And then we have the Eastern Orthodox Easter this coming Sunday. And we wish Commissioner Z and his family a wonderful, happy Easter. And anyone else? And Nick? So, a lot of holidays, a lot of good stuff. So, any of my other colleagues have any opening comments? We're good? Sorry. Oh, thank you. I forgot. April is call before you dig month. And unfortunately, thank you, Commissioner. Unfortunately, over the years, We've had accidents where developers have gone in and started digging and hit gas lines and things of that sort.
The weather's nice, so.
Yeah, and the weather's nice, so that's a good start. And so on. It's vital. Anyone who's listening to us, to please call. We don't want any gas explosions. We don't want any disasters. We don't want any people getting hurt. And unfortunately, in some key cases, people have died. So it is important for all developers, before you stick that shovel in the ground, you call and have the utilities come out and mark out exactly where those lines are or those pipes are. It's vital, and it's a safety item that certainly is carries a heavy fine if you don't do it. Let's put it that way. And so, for your benefit, developers, or any of us for that matter, if we're doing some home work on our own, I don't know where my gas line comes in. I mean, so I'm liable to put a shovel in the ground and hit it.
That I gotta say.
I'll put a shovel in the ground.
Put the shovel in the ground, not in it.
I'd like to see that too, actually. Yes. So my shovel in the ground days are over. So this is serious business. So those developers, please, and you home repairmen, repairwomen who do it on your own, before you dig, have them come out and mark out where your lines are. It's vital, and it's safety in the future. Any of my other colleagues? Yes, sir.
Mr. President, if I could, just to share some very encouraging news. Just yesterday, a global consultancy firm released some very impressive global projections that this coming year, the world will use fewer fossil fuels to generate electricity than at any time since the Industrial Revolution, except for pandemics and recessions. So this is a great indicator that all of our work is being really fulfilled. And 12% of all global electricity will be generated by wind and solar, again, increasing by leaps and bounds. So New Jersey should take great pride in helping lead this global revolution. So I'm very happy to report these encouraging projections and results for all your hard work.
That's great, thank you. That's impressive. And we keep moving along, even with the obstacles sometimes that pop up in front of us and the potholes we hit sometimes. We can continue to move along, and that is a tribute to all of you who are working every single day on these issues and on all the issues that face the BPU. And we're going to hear from one now, from Alice, as we go to audits.
Consent agenda.
No, I was testing. This was a test. You see, you're supposed to say, you forgot the consent agenda.
I wouldn't dare at the first meeting.
Sherry, I forgot the consent agenda, so can we do that?
That's perfect. Thank you, Mr. President. On consent agenda items 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4A, 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, 5E, and 9A. Commissioner Holden?
So moved.
Commissioner
Second.
Solomon?
Roll call?
Second.
She seconded, yes.
Roll call. I'm going to start over. Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue?
Yes.
President Fortaleza?
Yes. Thank you, Sherry.
We have another item for consent agenda. This is
Yes.
separated out. Yes, on consent agenda item 5F. This is Commissioner Holden.
What's this?
Yes,
I'm sorry, you lost.
Mr. President, I'll be recusing myself from that
that's why
particular.
that one's separated from the others.
Yeah.
There's-
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then that's why. I got you.
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, now that brings us to Alice. We have some audit business here, Alice.
Well, before you today is the agenda matter involves the management and affiliated transaction audit of Jersey Central Power and Light Company. On February 7th of 2023, Liberty Consulting Group submitted the final audit report in the above referenced audit. The final audit report contains 38 chapters, 13 in Phase 1, 25 in Phase 2, including executive summaries in each phase, and makes numerous recommendations. At this time, staff is recommending that the board accept the final audit report for filing purposes only, release the public final audit report for comments due by May 22nd of 2023. Staff recommends issuance of a secretary's letter setting forth the request for comments. After review and receipt of these comments, staff will bring the matter back to the board's agenda for consideration of an implementation plan. Staff further recommends, consistent with the terms of the agreement for consulting services with Liberty, that the holdback fees in the amount of $293,916.80 pending acceptance of the final report be released to Liberty.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, Sherry.
Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christopher,
Yes.
President Bordelisa.
Yes. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you.
And that brings us to energy, and the first three items in energy relate to FERC and PJM, and Ryan, you're up.
Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Good morning, Ryan.
2A is actually a DOE item, not a FERC item.
Okay.
On January 13th,
If you say
2020.
so, Ryan.
Yeah. On January 13th, 2023, the Department of Energy issued a request for information regarding the issuance of grants through Section 50152 of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 to help facilitate the siting of interstate and offshore electricity transmission lines. On February 28, 2023, staff filed comments in response to the RFI. The comments clarified that certain states and regional transmission organizations, including New Jersey, have very little siting authority over transmission projects, but are sponsors and planners for transmission projects. The comments also explained that it may be more beneficial to expand the geographic scope of eligible projects and responded to specific questions from the RFI related to siting barriers, transmission cost allocation, and optimal timing of potential future funding streams. Staff recommends that the board ratify the comments that staff and Rate Council jointly filed with the DOE on February 28th, 2023. These were not joint comments I have spoken, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Ryan? Roll call, Sherry.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christopher,
Yes.
President Bordelisa.
Yes. And 2B now?
2B is a set of joint comments. These were jointly filed with the Illinois Commerce Commission. On October 6, 2022, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission hosted a technical conference on transmission efficiency and cost management, which included discussions on efficient spending on transmission assets and management of such costs, as well as transparency issues in the transmission development process. On December 23, 2022, the Commission issued a notice inviting post-technical conference comments on some outstanding questions from the major themes of discussion. On March 23, 2023, board staff and the Illinois Commerce Commission jointly filed comments in response to the Commission's notice. The comments highlighted the increased spending on local transmission projects, especially in PJM in recent years. The lack of transmission oversight certain states have over transmission spending, and the potential role of a future independent transmission monitor for support. Staff recommends that the board ratify the comments filed on March 23, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Christopher,
Yes.
President Bordelisa.
Yes. And then 2C.
Yes, 2C is on the board's investigation of resource adequacy. On March 27, 2020, the board directed staff to evaluate whether New Jersey could achieve its long-term clean energy and environmental objectives through continued participation in PJM's energy markets. Specifically, the board launched an investigation of resource adequacy alternatives and directed staff to investigate alternative resource adequacy structures and to return to the board with recommendations on how to best meet the state's needs consistent with clean energy and environmental goals while considering the cost to utility customers. In July 2021, staff released its initial report, Alternative Resource Adequacy Structures for New Jersey. The 2021 report modeled various alternative structures' impact on prices and clean energy deployment. The board accepted the 2021 report and directed staff to report back in 1 year on its efforts and to make further recommendations. In September 2022, staff released our second report, the 2022 Progress Report on New Jersey's Resource Adequacy Alternatives, a follow-up to the 2021 report and a general update on staff's investigation. The 2022 Progress Report largely echoes the conclusions of the 2021 report and introduced new concepts identified to facilitate the state's clean energy transition more efficiently while ensuring reliability. Through the 2022 Progress Report, staff recommended that the board, 1, accept staff's finding that an integrated clean capacity market would result in significant cost savings and accelerate the clean energy transition, and that New Jersey should continue to advocate for its adoption at the regional level. 2, direct staff to set course on a parallel track to develop regional voluntary clean energy market while regional efforts unfold. 3, to find that New Jersey should favor the procurement of clean capacity over capacity from emitting resources. A stakeholder meeting was held on October 11, 2023, where staff presented the key findings and recommendations of the 2022 Progress Report, followed by written comments from the public. While many stakeholders were supportive of staff's efforts, staff has revised the 2022 Progress Report to address some of the questions and concerns raised in the comments. Among staff's major revisions, the major updates consisted of more clearly distinguishing between the characteristics and costs and benefits identified between the design options, identifying the interaction between new products proposed by staff and the existing REC programs, and further elaboration on the proposed clean capacity and carbon indexing products. Therefore, staff recommends that the board accept the updated version of the 2022 Progress Report and its key findings. Staff also recommends that the board direct staff to continue working with stakeholders and industry experts to develop a New Jersey-led voluntary regional forward clean energy market that could be implemented if regional efforts fail, and continue to explore other concepts introduced through this report. Additionally, staff recommends that the board direct staff to, in parallel, continue to engage in regional efforts and advocate for the adoption of the integrated clean capacity market as the solution identified to provide the most efficiencies and emission reductions benefits.
So moved.
Second.
Before we vote on it, I might have misheard something. You said you took comments on October 23rd?
In October of 2022, we held a stakeholder meeting,
Okay.
and then we took written comments following it.
Okay, I misunderstood. Thank you, Marie. Okay. Any questions? Comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal LaRue,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes. I just want to make an announcement. As you all know, Abe Silverman has left the board and took a position with Columbia University. We love you too. As you also know, we have a division that works almost exclusively, if not exclusively, on regional and federal events involving FERC, PJM, and of course Ryan is an integral part of that division. And we have the word out that we need another person in that division. And in the meantime, they will be reporting to our executive director, Bob Brabston, and Bob will help guide. And, I should revise that. Ryan will help guide Bob. and so on. So I just wanted you to know that change that has been made due to Abe's departure. Okay. Thank you. Do we vote?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ryan. Now we have Ryan Moran. Now that's Ryan with one N. Ryan with two N's just left.
Good morning. Almost afternoon.
Hello, Ryan.
So agenda item 2D, on January 27th, the state's 4 electric distribution companies filed a joint petition requesting recovery of FERC-approved changes in firm transmission services related to several FERC filings. The EDCs requested that the changes in rates be effective for services rendered on or after March 1st, 2023. Based on the allocation of the TEX and NITS costs for the EDCs and their respective allocation among each EDC customer service class, the monthly bill for a residential customer using 650 kilowatt hours per month will change by approximately the following: a decrease of 33 cents for ACE, a decrease of 28 cents for JCP&L, an increase of $2.57 for PSE&G, and a decrease of 44 cents for Rockland. Staff recommends the board approve the modifications to the BGS RSCP and BGS CIEP rates consistent with the petition effective May 1st. Further, staff recommends the board waive the 30-day filing requirement as requested by the EDCs. And lastly, staff recommends the EDCs be directed to file revised tariffs by May 1st.
So moved.
Oh, 1 second.
Rockland was an increase.
Oh, correct. Good point. I'd like to correct, Rockland was an increase of 44 cents, not a decrease of 44 cents. Thank you to Mr. Beck.
I was hoping you would say he got PSEG wrong since I'm PSEG.
No help, no.
Okay.
I'll amend my motion.
Second?
Questions, comments for Ryan? Roll call, please, Jen.
On motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobalou,
Yes.
President Portales.
Yes. 2E, Ryan?
Item 2E. Since 2002, the EDCs have utilized an auction process approved by the board for the procurement of the needed supply of BGS. For each of the BGS auction procurements conducted since 2002, the board has retained a consultant to oversee and monitor the BGS auction process on behalf of the board and board staff. Board staff has developed an RFQ on behalf of the board to solicit bid proposals to hire a contractor to assist staff to monitor and oversee the BGS auctions and to oversee the RFP procurement process of Rockland Electric Company. Staff recommends that the board authorize staff to issue an RFQ on behalf of the board to hire a consultant to perform oversight of the BGS auction process beginning July 1, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Questions, comments for Ryan? Roll call, please, Sherry.
On a motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobalou,
Yes.
President Portales.
Yes. And 2F.
Item 2F. 2/3 of the state's basic generation service requirements for residential and small commercial pricing customers are under contract for the period of June 1, 2024 through May 31st, 2025. The board must determine how the remaining 1/3 of the state's BGS requirements for RSCP customers, as well as the state's annual BGS requirements for commercial and industrial energy pricing customers, should be procured beginning June 1, 2024. Staff is recommending that the board initiate a transparent and public proceeding to determine what type of process should be used for the procurement of BGS RSCP and BGS CIEP supply and the capacity needs of Rockland's non-PJM service area within New Jersey. Board staff recommends the board approve a procedural order that would result in a board decision on the process in November 2023 and would permit a BGS procurement process in February 2024. Further, staff recommends that the board direct the electric distribution companies to make a BGS filing by July 3rd, 2023, describing how they intend to procure the remaining BGS RSCP and BGS CIEP requirements. They should also include a proposal from Rockland for procuring the energy and capacity requirements for its non-PJM service area within New Jersey. In addition, board staff also recommends that the board invite all other interested stakeholders to file any alternative BGS procurement process with the board by July 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Michael, you're up. And you're going to continue with the energy items.
I am. Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Good morning, Michael.
On July 8th, 2022, Atlantic City Electric Company filed a petition seeking authority to adjust the level of its rider regional greenhouse gas initiative recovery charge rates associated with ACE's legacy SREC financing program, its successor SREC financing program, its transition renewable energy certificate program, and the successor solar incentive program. The parties to the matter have executed a stipulation recommending adjustments to the components and the continuation of the company's SREC 2 administration fee of $17.07 for the calendar year 2023. Based upon the stipulation, a typical residential customer using 680 kilowatt hours per month will experience a monthly bill increase of approximately 55 cents. Staff recommends that the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing ACE to file revised tariffs by April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes. Next item, Michael?
On June 1st, 2022, Public Service Electric and Gas Company filed a petition seeking approval to implement a gas conservation incentive program and associated customer class rates to account for potential lost sale revenues stemming from the company's energy efficiency programs. On September 28th, 2022, the board approved a provisional stipulation authorizing PSE&G to implement its proposed GCIP mechanism and associated rates on a provisional basis, subject to refund, while the matter remained under review. As a result of the provisional stipulation, the annual impact on a typical residential gas heating customer using 172 therms of gas during the winter month and 1,040 therms of gas annually was an increase of $30.38. Through the course of the proceeding, the company updated its schedules to reflect actual data through September 2022. The parties to this matter have now executed a stipulation recommending finalizing the implementation of the company's proposed GCIP rates. There is no additional bill impact associated with the final stipulation. Staff recommends that the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing PSE&G to file revised tariffs by April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Sherry.
On the motion to approve staff recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobalou,
Yes.
President Cornelius.
Yes. Item I, Michael.
And on September 13th, 2022, New Jersey Natural Gas Company filed a petition seeking approval to modify the remediation, adjustment, and New Jersey Clean Energy Program components of its societal benefits charge. New Jersey Natural also sought recovery of its remediation expenditures incurred from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. On February 9th, 2023, New Jersey Natural revised the actual expenditures for remediation year 2022 and the RA and NJ CEP rates. Following a review of the petition, including the update, the parties executed a stipulation requesting that the company be authorized to implement the revised RA and NJ CEP rates based upon the update. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential heating customer using 1,000 therms of gas annually will see an annual increase of approximately $4. Staff recommends that the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing New Jersey Natural to file revised tariffs by April 30th.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobalou,
Yes.
President Cornelius.
Yes. Item J, Michael.
On March 1st, 2023, Public Service Electric and Gas Company filed a petition seeking approval of the next phase of its gas system modernization program and an associated cost recovery mechanism pursuant to NJAC 14:3-2A. Staff recommends that the board retain this matter for hearing and designate a presiding commissioner. Staff further recommends that the board set a bar date of May 12th, 2023 for the filings of motions to intervene and/or participate and for admission pro hoc vice.
Before we move that, Commissioner Z has volunteered to be the presiding officer for that. Mr. refuses to vote for you.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I just have a question. On what number filing of the modernization program is this?
We're up to 3.
Up to 3. And were they all retained by the board previously?
Yes.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was one that was,
Yeah,
there's one that was in the initial was in the billions, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the energy
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
I guess that
Oh,
was
no,
the
but
first.
that wasn't under GSM.
No,
It was similar to GSM.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a precursor to
Yes.
GSM.
roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobalou,
Yes.
President Cornelius.
Yes. We're up to K?
We're up to K.
Okay.
On June 1st, 2022, Public Service Electric and Gas Company filed a petition seeking approval to increase its BGSS rate, residential gas service rate, as well as its balancing charge rates. By order dated September 7th, 2022, the board approved the stipulation for provisional rates executed by the parties, which authorized Public Service to implement its proposed BGSS-RSG and balancing charge effective for services rendered on and after October 1st, 2022 on a provisional basis, subject to refund. The company's BGSS-RSG rate was subsequently modified by the board by order dated November 9th, 2022. In both January and February 2023, Public Service filed motions that it would implement its BGSS-rate effective February 1st and March 1st respectively. The parties have now executed a stipulation which would allow PSE&G to finalize its BGSS-RSG rate as updated on March 1st and balancing charge, which was subsequently approved by Administrative Law Judge Irene Jones. Staff recommends that the board adopt the initial decision and stipulation and direct PSE&G to file revised tariffs by April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Sherry.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Baloo,
Yes.
President Cortez.
Yes. And that brings us to item L.
On June 1st, 2022, New Jersey Natural Gas Company filed a petition requesting authority to modify its periodic BGSS rate, its balancing charge rate, and conservation incentive program rates. By order dated September 7th, 2022, the board approved a stipulation for provisional rates executed by the parties, which authorized New Jersey Natural to implement a BGSS, balancing charge, and CIP rates effective for services rendered on and after October 1st, 2022 on a provisional basis, subject to refund. On February 22nd, 2023, New Jersey Natural filed a notice indicating that it would implement a BGSS bill credit and lower its BGSS rate effective March 1st, 2023. The parties have now executed a stipulation which would allow New Jersey Natural to finalize its BGSS rate, CIP rates, and balancing charge rates, which was subsequently approved by Administrative Law Judge Tricia Caliguire. Staff recommends that the board adopt the initial decision and stipulation and direct New Jersey Natural to file revised tariffs by April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Michael? Roll call, Sherry.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Baloo,
Yes.
President Cortez.
Yes. And the final item, Michael M.
On June 1st, 2022, Elizabethtown Gas Company filed a petition seeking to increase its periodic basic gas supply service and conservation incentive program rates effective October 1st, 2022. By order dated September 7th, 2022, the board approved the stipulation for provisional rates executed by the parties, which authorized Elizabethtown Gas to implement a BGSS-P and CIP rates effective for services rendered on and after October 1st, 2022, subject to refund. On February 15th, 2023, the company filed a notice of intent to exercise a self-implementing rate reduction, which was subsequently updated. The parties have executed a stipulation for final rates, which was subsequently approved by Administrative Law Judge Irene Jones. Staff recommends that the board issue an order approving the stipulation and approving the initial decision and stipulation. Staff further recommends that the board direct Elizabethtown Gas to file revised tariffs prior to May 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, Sherry.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Baloo,
Yes.
President Cortez.
Yes. You might as well just sit there, Michael. There are no items under cable television or telecommunications for consideration. That then brings us to water. And I'd like to call up Michael. Oh, you're on.
And now turning on to our water matters. On September 7th, 2022, Pinelands Water Company filed a petition seeking authority to increase its base tariff rates and charges for water service. The matter was subsequently transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law for hearings as a contested case, where it was assigned to Administrative Law Judge Jacob S. Kurtzman. Following settlement discussions, parties have executed a stipulation resolving all issues that arose during the course of this proceeding, and the stipulation was subsequently approved by ALJ Kurtzman. The stipulation agrees to a revenue increase for the company of $503,000, $503,000, or 52.71% over present revenues of $955,000. The stipulation agrees that the agreed-upon rate increase will be implemented in 4 phases. As a result of the stipulation, a residential customer with a 5/8-inch meter using 11,900 gallons of water per quarter, bills will be increased by 52.71% after the full phase-in. Staff recommends that the board adopt the initial decision and stipulation effective for service rendered on and after April 15th, 2023. Staff further recommends that the board direct Pinelands Water Company to file revised tariffs prior to April 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
Perhaps if I could, Mr. President, I know we don't take this kind of increase lightly. This is a significant increase in rates, which we take very seriously. But this is a result of really neglected infrastructure.
Yes.
And I think it's important for us to recognize and for everyone to know that when things are neglected, like a toothache, they don't go away, they just get more painful and more costly. And that's what happened here. Someone neglected this issue, and it got much worse over time and left no option but to preserve the system. It's going to cost an enormous amount.
Yes.
But there seems no alternative at this point. So, Michael, thank you for your due diligence on this.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. How many customers do they have?
Approximately 2,000.
And that's a problem with some of these smaller water companies, whereby they socialize the cost, but it's over a limited number of people.
Yes.
We're not talking of New Jersey American or Middlesex or an Aqua that has thousands. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, but it's something that we encourage, and in this particular case, thank you. In this particular case, Middlesex did step up and buy this
Yes.
system, and so on. And we encourage the larger water companies to really take a look at not only these smaller systems, but some of the municipal systems are having difficulty. And, there are different types of agreements. They don't necessarily have to take over a municipal system. They can run it, and the town can still own it. So, I mean, there are a variety of different options that can be looked at. And where you don't have an increase like this, and people are, shocked by the amount of increase that they're going to receive on their normal bill, and it's in some instances it's unfair, but the work has to be done if we're going to secure safe drinking water for people. And I mean that's part of our job too, to make sure that infrastructure is in good shape, and that water is going through good pipes, and people can use that water as it's intended to be used. So, any other comments? Yes.
And it's only getting worse as the list of contaminants grow that are going to be regulated, as the EPA has set some unrealistic standards for conditioning the systems, and that goes whether you're a municipal or investor-owned utility or utility authority. You're all going to have to comply with the same rules. So you're right, the whole thing is really exacerbated by this. And one possible thing going forward would be for a merger of Middlesex and Pinelands. So it could be socialized over a greater bit.
Greater number of people, and which reduces obviously the cost. So, okay, roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Cortez.
Yes. Next item, Michael.
On September 7th, 2022, Pinelands Wastewater Company filed a petition seeking to authority to increase its base tariff rates and charges for wastewater service. The matter was transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law for hearings as a contested case, and it was assigned to Administrative Law Judge Jacob S. Gertzman. Following settlement discussions, the parties executed a stipulation that resolved all issues that arose during the course of this proceeding. The stipulation was subsequently approved by ALJ Gertzman. The stipulation agrees to a revenue increase for the company of $406,000 or 26.52% over present rate revenues of $1.5 million. The stipulation further agrees that the agreed upon rate increase be implemented in 4 phases. As a result of the stipulation, residential customers with a 5/8 inch meter using 11,900 gallons of water per quarter bills will be increased by 26.52% after the full phasing. Staff recommends that the board adopt the initial decision and stipulation effective for services rendered on and after April 15th, 2023. Staff further recommends that the board direct Pinelands Wastewater to file revised tariffs prior to April 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? How many customers does Pinelands Water have, Mike?
Also approximately 2,000.
And
Yes.
also one thing, when we do these phase-ins, it's good for the customer, to take it less of a bite, but
Right.
actually for the companies, they're carrying the charges and they're not making anything of it. So from a business point of view, it's kind of nice that they're doing this for their customers, but it doesn't really solve the problem because then they're further behind when the next case comes forward.
Yeah. It's true. Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Baloo,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes. Item C, Michael?
On November
Mr. President,
15th,
sorry, I'll be recusing myself from this vote as well.
Thank you.
on November 15th, 2022, New Jersey American Water Company filed a petition requesting approval to modify its purchased water adjustment clause and its purchased wastewater treatment adjustment clause. Middlesex Water Company and the Mount Laurel Municipal Utilities Authority filed separate motions to intervene in this matter. No party has objected to the motions to intervene. Staff recommends that the board grant Middlesex's and Mount Laurel motions to intervene.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Jerry.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
President Fortaleza.
Yes. Okay, Mike, we're going to engrave your name on that chair.
That's it?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. There are no items under reliability and security. There are no items under customer assistance. That brings us to clean energy. And who's going to start off for clean energy? Mr. Ferris. What better way to start off?
Well, thank you, sir. It's still morning? Not quite. Good afternoon, President and Commissioners. On January 31st, 2018, Governor Murphy issued Executive Order Number 8, which, among other directives, tasked the President of the BPU and the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection with the development of an offshore wind strategic plan. In April 2018, the board issued an RFQ for the development of New Jersey's first offshore wind strategic plan and subsequently awarded a contract to Ramboll U.S. Corporation. In September 2020, the board approved the first offshore wind strategic plan, which created a roadmap for New Jersey in its pursuit of its then 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind generation procurement goal. Since the release of New Jersey's first offshore wind strategic plan, the board made 2 offshore wind project awards in solicitation 2 in June of 2021. Governor Murphy, through Executive Order 307, increased New Jersey's offshore wind procurement goal to 11,000 megawatts in September of 2022.
Question.
And the board awarded, through the state agreement approach, a suite of transmission projects that collectively provide a coordinated transmission solution for 6,400 megawatts of offshore wind generation. Additionally, major port and supply chain development activities are underway at the New Jersey Wind Port and the Port of Paulsboro. Given the rapidly changing offshore wind energy landscape in New Jersey and along the eastern seaboard, staff, in partnership with staff from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and New Jersey Economic Development Authority, have developed a request for quotations for the development of a second offshore wind strategic plan to guide New Jersey in achieving its offshore wind energy objectives in future solicitations. Staff recommends that the board approve the issuance of this RFQ as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Question.
Yes.
So the funding for this plan is coming from the 46 million carryover from the clean energy budget, if I understood my briefing correctly.
It is coming from the clean energy budget, yes.
Right, the carryover.
It's coming from the clean energy budget from the SBC money, yes.
Right, I think that was 46 if I'm.
The carryover is 46.
46.
It is in the budget.
Right, and is the offshore, this offshore wind strategic plan going to be finished before the next solicitation?
The schedule would have it be finished before the next solicitation is issued, yes.
So, okay, so we'll have it in time for the next solicitation, though we've already put out the guidance document.
I'm sorry, I thought you were referring to solicitation 4. Yes,
No.
solicitation 3 has already been issued. Solicitation 4 would be issued, right now the target is Q3 of 2024, and the target for completion of this second strategic plan would be before that.
Right. One of the things I just noticed, in that, RFQ or what that you had given us was that, we're not supposed to be like duplicating efforts that we done before, and I just noted in there that there are some items in the scope of work that are duplicative of things that we've already done. For instance, we have developers from solicitation 2 have put forward $26 million to do work on coastal and marine impact studies. And so part of this, you have us, reviewing literature again. Whoop.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We have studies prepared by Brattle to figure out innovative market designs for variable resources, which puts New Jersey in a wait-and-see approach with PJM and FERC, which is sort of, I think Ryan had indicated that earlier in terms of her report. Bates White's research has conducted studies on workforce demands, and Levitan has provided cost-benefit analysis for our OREC award, all of which we have funded. And the list goes on in terms of, consults, reports, that some of which we're still waiting for, and that, are part of this RFQ to review and do. So I just want to say, depending on, the first solicitation or offshore wind strategic plan was what, 1.5 million?
I believe so,
in
yes.
terms of the award, and the recognition in the RFQ that we shouldn't duplicate work that's already been done, to take advantage of what we're already paying for, rather than have whoever's doing this one, go over the same territory that we already have. That's just, one item. The other issues in there, I'm glad to see that we're looking at, I was happy to see different market forces and activity to give us some insight as to, what these actual costs to ratepayers will actually be. Because in the past, we really have not had an opportunity to look at the all-in costs, and this may give us maybe a little bit more insight, even though it's not really a cost evaluation for offshore wind, something that I know I've spoken out and others before me, concerning offshore wind. But, I want to make sure that the opportunities that we give to developers of this resource based upon market conditions, whether they be workforce development, supply chain, whatever indications are that come out of this study, that we make similar types of accommodations to any other type of resource. I'm sort of resource agnostic, that run into the same types of issues that they have to develop and perform their business model. We're just talking about the water industry, having to upgrade their infrastructure. We have the gas system modernization program. There are those types of considerations, not just for this industry, but for all the industries that this board regulates. And with respect to the electric and the gas industry and the water, they have, as I've said in the past, this obligation to serve component that affects them even more intimately and greatly than some of these newer types of generation assets that are being developed and supported by investors and others who are interested, and the federal government for that fact, in seeing these industries grow. So I just want to make sure that whatever accommodations come out, are listed in this report for us to recommend in terms of following a future solicitation are also considered when we were looking at other types of business models other than just offshore wind.
Thank you, Commissioner. Relative to your comment about duplication of work, our approach was certainly not to duplicate work, but to update, enhance based on the changes in, the many changes in offshore wind since the first strategic plan was issued.
I mean, my point is that in some instances, we don't even have the information yet. And we funded, like I said, $26 million, which is great from the industry to do a number of these studies. And we're not even going to have the benefit of that when it comes to this strategic plan, but, so, yeah.
Unfortunately, there are certain elements that are out of our control. And as was indicated, a lot has changed from the first solicitation to where we are today. There have been a number of, I keep using the term potholes, that we have encountered with some of these developers. And it has, in some cases, slowed down some of our progress. In some cases, we have learned that certain things should be put into these solicitations that maybe were not put into the first solicitation. And getting the advice of consultants and people who have done this before, and I might add, we have never done this before. We are going into deep water here, no pun intended, where we have not had experience. And we have solicited advice, input, not only nationally, but internationally. And we have tried to be as prudent as we possibly can be, because we know who pays for this. You and I pay for it. Every ratepayer pays for it. But this is a direction that has to be made, in my opinion, and has to be continued. If the numbers that Commissioner Z indicated were increased renewable energy, don't throw mud up against the wall and hope something sticks. That's not how the approach goes. The approach involves detailed research and information from wherever we can get it. And some of the price tags for this are certainly a little higher than was initially thought of. But we can't stop. And I know the next statement I'm going to make has been criticized by some, but can we afford not to do it? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is no, we can't. We cannot afford not to do it. And again, as I've said many times before, there are very powerful sources out there that don't want us to succeed. And let me also say, there is no evidence that what's going on as far as offshore wind is concerned is in any way affecting the whales or the dolphins. There's no scientific evidence to that. Are we saddened by the fact that these beautiful animals are dying? There may be other factors involved. And one of those factors may be the idea that climate change and them spending more time in the north than they normally did in years past has affected them in some way. We don't know. Is there some disease going on involving these animals? We don't know. Scientists are trying to figure it out. But we have to continue. And staff has worked really, literally, their fingers to the bone on weekends, nights, and everything else to come up with the best possible approach. And just like everything else, each step we take, we learn. And we get better at it. And I'll be the first to admit we're not perfect yet. But we're getting better and better and better because of those people out there who work diligently to make New Jersey a leading force in offshore wind. So I understand your concerns, I really do. I understand the effect that it has on ratepayers. And I've said this before too. We are going to be judged on what we do. Future generations are going to judge us on how well we handled what's happening to our economy. That's where we're going to be judged. And just like we've judged previous generations on a wide variety of topics. So we have to continue to march down the road. And we're not going to be finished in the tenure that I'm going to be here, or any of us are going to be here for that matter. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And it's a marathon that is worth running. So, and I appreciate the concern with the finances. I really do.
Well, frankly, I don't think that anyone's challenging or judging, us today. It's our job and our responsibility, not only for the future, but of the present, to make sure that individuals can continue to benefit from what's going to be available in the future. But as you said, there is a fine balance between putting forth these plans and objectives and the ability to continue to function as a municipality, a state, a country, in a way that, supports that generation of the future that you're talking about. So I'm not judging, and nor do I feel it's, within the regulatory compact that I, speak to the morality of any particular resource. Mine is to just point out that there are, and I know we're not arguing, it's just a discussion, are issues and considerations that are my obligation to raise as a commissioner when we, go down this path. I know that you understand. That's the reason for my commentary, for the observations that I make, and I don't pretend to, have any obligation beyond that which is given to me under that compact.
And that's why a democracy works, because there are differences of opinion. And my wish is, and my hope is, that other levels of government adopt that and don't expel people from legislatures because they disagree with them.
Jim, in regards to this particular agenda item in the RFQ, I have the utmost confidence that you'll limit the scope of services in the RFQ to make sure that it includes what we need and nothing that we don't. So I have great confidence in that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other comments? Yes.
Sometimes you have to spend money to make money. As we've said before, we're birthing an industry here in New Jersey. Whether you're at a wind conference, which I know some staff were at recently, and I was at a national conference, New Jersey is the leader. And everyone's looking at us. They want to beat us, but everyone's looking at us. We have to get it right. And we can't rely on studies that we've done in the past. We can't just rely on staff. We need that extra expertise to make sure we're not missing anything or missing any other opportunities. And so I'm very confident in this, and I think it's money well spent for this, continuing with these consultants.
Any other comments? Questions? Let's take a roll call.
On a motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cristoforu?
Yes.
President Fortaleza?
Yes. Thank you, James.
Sure.
Kelly, I think you're the next one up. Am I right? Yeah, I am right.
You are.
For a change.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
This matter addresses the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget true-up, budget reallocations, and program changes to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. The FY23 New Jersey Clean Energy Program budget was approved by the Board on June 29, 2022. The budget was established in part based upon an estimate of expenses expected to be incurred during the fiscal year 2022. Once actual expenses become known on an annual basis, the Board typically approves a true-up budget, reconciling the differences between the expenses estimated for budgetary purposes and the expenses actually incurred. Consistent with that practice, and now that all expenses actually incurred during FY22 are known, Board staff is making a true-up recommendation which results in an additional $46,396,198 to be available for the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. Also, a review of FY23 first quarter program expenditures shows that some program spending is tracking above and some below the original projections. Other program budgets have been adjusted due to participation levels and timeline changes. Therefore, the proposed true-up budget also suggests redistributions to align budgets with program performance and other initiatives. On February 17, 2023, staff released a proposal for the draft true-up budget, revised budgets, and program revisions. Staff held a virtual information session on the proposed true-up budget and program revisions on March 3, 2023. Public comments were accepted through March 10, 2023. Of the $46,396,198 from FY22, staff recommends the available funds be distributed as follows. Over $42 million to energy efficiency programs, roughly $3.5 million to renewable energy programs, $30,000 to EDA programs, and $400,000 to planning and administration. In addition to the distribution of the available funds, staff proposes the following reallocations among programs to align budgets with program performance. Staff recommends the following increases: $2.4 million to the residential low-income program, that is our Comfort Partners program, $15 million to commercial and industrial buildings for energy efficiency, $1.5 million for local government energy audits, $500,000 in direct install, $14 million in new construction energy efficiency, $3 million for state facilities initiatives, $5.9 million towards the LED streetlight replacement program, $3.1 million to offshore wind. And I'll just make a point of clarification here, Commissioner Solomon. The $3.1 million that's part of the budget reallocation does not include the funds for the offshore wind strategic plan that was included in the FY23 budget. I just checked on that, so I wanted to clarify. So thank you for the question. Continuing on, $375,000 to solar registration, $50,000 in program evaluation, $300,000 towards outreach, education, and others, $50,000 to the membership budget, $2 million to the multi-unit dwelling charger program, and $1 million to EV tourism. In consideration of updates to the participation level in the EV program, staff proposes the following reductions: $2 million from the state vehicle fleet program and $1 million from the local clean fleet program. Further, staff updated the detailed budgets accordingly and revised the Division of Clean Energy, TRC, and Comfort Partners compliance filings to reflect previously approved developments and board actions. Additionally, staff proposes the following program changes. The Division of Clean Energy and Charge-Up compliance filings have been updated to reflect a change in criteria for eligible chargers, requiring that they must be ENERGY STAR certified for the EV programs. The TRC compliance filing has been revised to provide greater flexibility to raise the cap on state entities for local government energy audit program. Lastly, due to updated timelines and cost projections, $200,000 has been reallocated to the Division of Property Management and Construction and the BPU designated project list. Thus, staff believes the changes to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program budget as proposed present a reasonable approach to maintaining the New Jersey Clean Energy Program budgets throughout the remainder of the fiscal year. Staff has reviewed and considered the comments received and recommends the board approve the proposed FY23 true-up, revised budgets, and program changes.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? I think it's in our continuing process of learning, reallocating money to programs that seem to be flying off the shelf, so to speak, from those programs that are staying on the shelf for whatever reason, is one of the things we've learned over the years. And it is so encouraging to see certain programs take off like a rocket. And we have to fund those and make sure they're funded so they continue to go on. And as we've discussed many times before, those programs that are not going off the shelf, I know the division is working very hard to try to determine that, along with TRC, our consultant. And they are, I just met with them the other day, and in my opinion, they have come a long way. So so great job, and you know, it's, I know when I go out and speak, and I know my colleagues maybe do the same, every division in our department does outstanding work. Do we make mistakes? God only knows. If I had a dime for every mistake I made, I'd be in Tahiti. It is, but we learn as we go along. And as I said before, some of these things we've never done before. Never. some of our group was at a conference, and there were countries, it was an international conference, here in the United States, or virtual or whatever, but we participated. And they were asking our group questions. Countries that have been in offshore wind for 25 or 30 years, asking us questions. So we keep learning. And that's why it's so vital for us to be going to these conferences and these workshops and things of that sort. Because we continue to learn, but we're also teaching, which is a wonderful thing, because we have come, you have come so far in making what we do the talk of the town, so to speak. So thank you, Kelly, thank your team, and the amount of confidence I think that generally we all have is because of your leadership and the hard work of your team. So thank you. And I also want to congratulate you on, this week I think commemorates your 4th year here at the board, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow, 4 years and you're still here.
Amazing, every day.
And if I'm not mistaken, a birthday coming up very soon.
Yes. And
21 again.
And it'll be nice that you've reached the age where you can drink legally, we can take you out for one.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, we didn't vote. Vote.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And Diane, you have the next 2 items.
Next 3 items, I believe.
Next 3 items.
But you can call me Scott for the last one.
You did change appearance.
This first item, 8C, is related to the subsection T application from CEP Renewables to have its Port Bedford Solar Farm project certified as being located on a properly closed sanitary landfill pursuant to subsection T of the Solar Act of 2012. The applicant's proposed 26.496 megawatt DC project is to be located on 42.40 acres at the Belford landfill site in Middletown Township in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Staff reviewed the application and supplied a copy to the DEP for their review. At the request of the department, the application revisions were submitted on September 27th, 2022 and November 28th, 2022. Staff received an advisory memo on the application where the DEP determined that the Port Belford Solar Farm is located on property defined as a properly closed sanitary landfill consistent with the Solar Act of 2012. DEP also provided specific conditions and requirements for permits and approvals from DEP that the project proposed must satisfy. Based on the review of the application and the advisory memorandum provided by DEP, staff recommends the following 3 items. That the board grant conditional certification of the Port Belford Solar Farm project as proposed for the Belford landfill site on property defined as a properly closed sanitary landfill consistent with the Solar Act of 2012. And find the conditions for certification provided by the DEP be fully documented as satisfied by the applicant prior to staff's issuance of full certification, and direct the applicant to file its TREC registration within 14 days of the date of the order.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Item D, Diane?
This item pertains to registration requirements for projects following an award in the current procurement under the Competitive Solar Incentive or CSI program. The CSI program is open to qualifying grid supply solar installations and non-residential net metered solar installations with a capacity greater than 5 megawatts, as well as eligible grid supply solar installations in combination with energy storage. The pre-qualification window for the CSI program first solicitation opened on February 1st, 2023, and the bid submission closed on March 31st, 2023. In the December 7th, 2022 order launching the CSI program, the board established that after 30 days of receiving an award in the solicitation, a project seeking incentives under the CSI program will be required to submit a complete CSI program registration. On March 7th, 2023, board staff issued a request for information regarding the registration requirements in the CSI order. The comment period closed at 5 p.m. on March 15th, 2023. Staff received 9 comments in response to the request for information. After reviewing comments, staff believes that 2 registration requirements create barriers to participation in the CSI program that considerably outweigh the intended benefit of ensuring project maturity. These registration requirements are: 1, the electrical and building permits or documentation that applications for electrical and building permits have been submitted to the relevant municipality, and 2, a contract between the primary installer or third-party owner, as applicable, and the bidder or customer of record. As the board has emphasized, public participation is invaluable to the board's decision-making process. As these registration requirements were not available for stakeholder input prior to the opening of the first solicitation, the board did not benefit from that input. To avoid jeopardizing the success of this program by ignoring the existence of unintended barriers, staff recommends that the board take the following 3 actions. That the board waive, for all projects that participate in the 2023 solicitation, the registration requirement of electrical and building permits or documentation that applications for electrical and building permits have been submitted to the relevant municipality. That the board allow participants in the first solicitation to submit a contract with the primary installer or the third-party owner up to 1 year after receiving registration in the CSI program. And finally, that the board direct staff to review both requirements and suggest any modifications that will result in an effective registration process in future solicitations.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Sherry.
On a motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Portaliso.
Yes. And item E, Diane.
This item is a subsection T application from CEP Renewables to have its Hams Landfill Solar Farm project certified as being located on a properly closed sanitary landfill pursuant to subsection T of the Solar Act of 2012. The applicant's proposed 9.8415 megawatt project is to be located on 20 acres at the Hams Sanitation Landfill site in Lafayette Township in Sussex County. Staff reviewed the application and supplied a copy to New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for their review. Staff received an advisory memo on the application where the DEP determined that the Hams Landfill Solar Farm is located on property defined as a properly closed sanitary landfill consistent with the Solar Act. DEP also provided specific conditions and requirements for permits and approvals from DEP that the project proposed must satisfy. Based upon the review of the application and the advisory memorandum from the DEP, staff recommends the following 3 items. That the board grant conditional certification of the Hams Landfill Solar Farm project as proposed for the Hams Sanitation Landfill site on property defined as properly closed sanitary landfill consistent with the Solar Act of 2012. Find that the conditions for certification provided by the DEP be fully documented as satisfied by the applicant prior to staff's issuance of full certification, and direct the applicant to file its TREC registration within 14 days of the date of the order.
So moved.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Blue,
Yes.
President Portaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Sawyer, I think you're up next, and this is item F, and I will be recusing myself from this item, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Crystal Hu to take the gavel for this, please.
Commissioners, this agenda item is regarding the banking of bill credits from unallocated generation in the Community Solar Energy Program, Energy Pilot Program. The board adopted regulations for the pilot program on February 19, 2019. The board subsequently conducted 2 solicitations for community solar projects. Between the first program year in 2019 and the second program year in 2021, the board approved the applications of 150 projects totaling 243 megawatts of capacity. A community solar project's generated electricity is delivered to the grid, and subscribers receive bill credits for energy that is allocated to them. In case a project's capacity is not fully subscribed and some generation is not allocated to customers, the excess generation may be banked by the project operator in a dedicated project account. The excess generation may be banked for up to 12 months after the project reaches commercial operation, during which time it may be distributed to new or existing subscribers. Thereafter, any remaining generation credits are to be compensated by the EDCs at the avoided cost of wholesale power. Community solar project owner Solar Landscape petitioned the board for unallocated bill credits to be banked for a rolling 12 months from when the generation occurred, and for the EDCs to update their software to allow for such banking in order to have more time to allocate such credits, particularly those generated at the end of the 12-month period. The petitioner proposed that in the interim, bill credit banking and allocation be permitted for 2 years rather than 1. Public Service Electric and Gas filed a motion to intervene because of the additional costs it would incur to adjust its processes, which the board granted on January 26, 2022. The board assigned President Fiordalisa as presiding commissioner, and the matter is now returned to the board. Staff believes that community solar projects should strive to be fully subscribed
Can I interrupt you for a moment there?
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm recusing myself from this item, we're going to have to designate another commissioner to preside.
You did.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to do that. President Fiordaliso, matter has been returned to the board in full. At this point, we can note, as the order does, that at the time that you were appointed, you had no conflict. And subsequent to that appointment, the conflict arose, at which point you were screened from this matter and have had no further interaction on it. But the matter has been returned fully now to the board for action, and we do not require a presiding commissioner at this time for the board to take action today.
right. That's what I was referring to the hearing, not to the meeting.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Sawyer.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Staff believes that community solar projects should strive to be fully subscribed, and unallocated bill credits are not intended to be banked indefinitely. Waitlists of potential subscribers and anchor subscribers can help fill a project's capacity in the course of routine subscriber churn. Staff recognizes that unallocated generation created in the final months of the banking period may not have enough time to be allocated, especially if there are irregularities in the billing data. Staff therefore recommends that the board waive its rules at NJAC 14:8-9.7H and find that, in addition to 12 months after the start of commercial operation to bank and distribute generation credits, projects in the Community Solar Pilot Program shall have a further 12 months to distribute banked community solar bill credits to the project's subscribers.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Sawyer, thank you very much, and also thank you for answering my many questions over the past few days. I greatly appreciate it. No other questions? Roll call, Chair.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Hu.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Sawyer. Kathleen Lewis, are you in the house?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On September 23rd, 2020, the board directed all EDCs to file EV proposals by February 28th, 2021.
Between January 2021 and January 2022, in June 2022, each of the EDCs received board approval for an EV program, and each of those programs included requirements for network chargers to be utilized in their programs. On January 18, 2022, Governor Murphy signed the Appliance Act into law. The Appliance Act established minimum efficiency standards for several categories of residential and commercial appliances, including EV chargers. The Appliance Acts require that the eligible chargers that are sold, leased, or installed in the state meet the product specifications established in the Act and include a label indicating the product meets or exceeds the efficiency standards of the Act. Staff recommends that the board direct PSE&G, ACE, JCP&L, and RICO to update their respective EV program eligibility requirements in compliance with the Appliance Act. Staff further recommends that the board direct the EDCs to comply with any future regulations promulgated in accordance with the Appliance Act. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
On a motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobal?
Yes.
President Fiordaliso?
Yes. Thank you, Kathleen. Mr. Nestor. Before Mr. Nestor gets settled, I just want everyone to know here and those who are viewing us on YouTube
We're in the market.
that Kevin is off the market. He got married on April 2nd. And as a man who has been married almost 55 years, I tried to talk to the boy, but it apparently didn't work.
They don't listen.
Congratulations, Kevin, to you and your bride.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, President and Commissioners. This item pertains to releasing a request for a response for a state college or university to undertake the Wave and Tidal Energy Feasibility Study. The potential power, predictability, and dependability of wave and tidal patterns make these resources promising potential sources of supplying renewable energy, clean energy, which could potentially contribute to New Jersey's renewable energy portfolio. However, the industry itself and the technologies available to harness this energy are rather immature and are currently not capable of supplying energy at grid scale. This study represents an important first step to gauging the potential for marine hydrokinetic resources to potentially contribute to the state's clean energy portfolio. Staff has budgeted for this study from the Clean Energy Fund and anticipates the study will take up to 2 years to complete. Staff recommends that the board approve the release of the RFR to the state's public colleges and universities.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Kevin? Roll call, please, Jerry.
On a motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cristobal?
Yes.
President Fiordaliso?
Yes, and Kevin, may you and your wife have many, many happy years together.
Thank you.
Dustin.
Hard to believe, but good afternoon, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Hi, Dustin.
The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey submitted an application pursuant to the Large Energy Users Program seeking board approval of an estimated financial incentive of $998,671.41 for high-mast lighting retrofits at APM terminals and Millennium Marine Rail in Port Elizabeth, New Jersey. The proposed project has an estimated total cost of $3,474,490. If approved, the instant application would cover removal of the existing high-pressure sodium fixtures and replacement with new LED fixtures. New pole-level controls will be installed on a portion of the light poles to allow for additional dimming in areas where allowable, while maintaining required light levels. Annually, this project is estimated to conserve 3,026,277 kilowatt hours of electricity and reduce peak demand by an anticipated 589.9 kilowatts. The proposed project has an estimated annual energy cost savings of $274,413 and operational and maintenance savings of $61,322. Staff recommends approval of the application for the total estimated incentive amount.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Delue?
Yes.
President Portalosi?
Yes. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Paul, I think you're the next victim.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President and
Good
Commissioners.
afternoon, Paul.
In May of 2021, the Board approved a competitively bid contract with Guidehouse to provide grid modernization program development services, focusing initially on the reform of New Jersey's interconnection processes and technology. Guidehouse effectively framed the research areas, organized and facilitated a comprehensive series of stakeholder meetings, and delivered a final report with 9 findings and recommendations. At the Board's request, staff has since taken the first 4 recommendations and translated these into draft rules, which are undergoing stakeholder review. The 5 remaining longer-term recommendations require a more deliberate and focused effort, and staff believes that Guidehouse's continued expertise would be useful for this purpose. Staff therefore recommends that the Board approve a modification to the Guidehouse contract as discussed in executive session, subject to receiving approvals from the New Jersey Department of Treasury. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Delue?
Yes.
President Portalosi?
Yes. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And we have one item miscellaneous, and Maureen, you're not.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item 9A concerns a memorandum of understanding between the Board of Public Utilities and the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This MOU would authorize the DCA to disperse a $21,831,897 allocation from the fiscal year 2023 clean energy budget to residential electric and gas customers in need of utility bill assistance. The funding stream is intended to supplement American Rescue Plan funding for utility arrearage relief that is now depleted. There are thousands of households that applied for ARP utility bill relief who still need help, and this $21 million is intended to help those households with their electric and natural gas bills. Now that ARP funds are depleted and the winter termination period is over, this arrearage relief funding is critical. This one-time bill assistance will be provided until all funding is dispersed. Board staff believes that the DCA, Department of Community Affairs, as administrator of the American Rescue Plan program, the Board's Universal Service Fund program, and the Federal LIHEAP program, is the best entity to disperse the funding quickly to households in need. Staff therefore recommends the Board approve the MOU and authorize the Board President to sign the MOU on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? And this item was also discussed in executive session. Roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden?
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon?
Yes.
Commissioner Crystal Delue?
Yes.
And President Portalosi?
Yes. Thank you, Maureen. That ends our agenda, and I believe, and I may be wrong, that this is the longest meeting since I became president. Some of you who go back as far as me or even further will know that we used to have, when we were in Newark, marathon meetings. I mean, marathon meetings to the point where it was almost inhumane. I mean, there wasn't even a break to go to the bathroom. I mean, it was... So, I'm going to apologize for this long meeting, and the reason it was relatively long is because we did cancel that meeting at the end of March, but that won't happen again, I hope, and we will continue to try to be as brief as possible in going through our important items. And I think for our first public meeting, Sherry did a wonderful job. So we may keep you around. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.